Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Happy 14th day of Inkvent. This is the end of the first 2 weeks of the calendar. Oh, it's just like, flying by already. Can't wait to see what's behind door number 14. I'm working on doing a different way of like opening it, so I'm holding it actually towards the camera like everyone else seems to be doing. But most of pretty much all the pen tubers I've been watching the last couple of years, they do everything with the overhead tripod instead of starting their video just looking straight on at the camera. I have to push and push. That's really weird. The ones at the edge don't want to open, as I found out last night. So number 14 up at the top corner. What is this going to be? This looks pink. This is called Mittens. That was I mean, I did see a list of the titles a couple of times, and that one I kind of thought that one's going to be red, because I think most people associate mittens with being red. I don't know what that is. Maybe like something in the popular imagination or something, or maybe that's the most common popular color for mittens. So I guess I wasn't wrong. I thought this is probably going to be a color of red, but this is like a really interesting, nice shade of pink, and this is a pigment ink. That's going to be fun. My third ever experience working with a pigment ink. So I will see you guys on the other side of my desk. That's an interesting shade of pink. It reminds me kind of Tsutsuji by Pilot Iroshizuka, which unfortunately was discontinued, so I panic bought a second bottle of it in case any stores, stocks ran out. I like it so much. It seems a little bit maybe somewhat lighter than Tsutsuji as I'm starting to paint more of it down, but definitely not the kind of like borderline unreadable, like baby Barbie pink, girly girl pink that I've so like not wanted to be associated with my entire life. So because I'm not really that much into pink unless they're, really bright, vibrant, dark kinds of shades, this probably wouldn't be the full bottle type for me, but it's a really happy shade of pink. Not really what I associate winter or Christmas or other winter holidays with, but it's, a nice change. And again, I see the different kind of like coating drying down, if that's the right word, a different type of texture, because this is a pigment ink and not the traditional type of fountain pen ink. Although, in other parts of the world, like this could be a typical traditional color for winter. Like say if you live in the Caribbean somewhere, like, oh, we have much different color profile for the holidays, and we don't drink or eat the same kinds of things people associate in the West. So, like learn to think outside of your own culture. Maybe this is, the color of winter in some other places, but, Diamine is from England. So but I'm just curious what this shade of pink has to do with the holidays in traditional Western culture. Although I guess it does kind of look like a pair of mittens. It's a fun ink. I'm liking it, but again, not maybe enough to get a full bottle, but I can't stop painting with it, so that definitely means I like it. And I really do apologize. I was so humiliated when I watched the playback last night. Oh, I totally forgot to pull down the top right corner of the notebook when I was like writing the the name and the date of the calendar. It was like almost completely out of frame. That was a humiliating mistake, but I'm learning from my mistakes every time I make them, and try my damnedest not to commit those stupid ass mistakes again, because that's the only way we learn, is to sometimes make mistakes and realize I shouldn't have done that. I will do so much differently going forward. Yeah, this is definitely appearing much lighter on the paper, but it's a wet ink. It's really sticking to the brush. It doesn't want to write itself dry. I'm like doing way too much ink on the page, but yeah, it's a lovely kind of like bubblegummy pinky color. It's nice. It's a nice shade of pink in writing too. If it, wrote this thick and whatever kind of nib I was going to write with it, maybe I would consider a full bottle. But frequently I've discovered the writing samples on swatch cards, they don't always necessarily look like they do in like practical, realistic writing on actual, paper with a real fountain pen. There's like way too much space on the end. Maybe I'll have to use it for writing the day and stuff. I really need to learn to like center the names more in the center. I'm sorry, I sound like an idiot broken record when I'm doing these swatch cards at the bottom if they're short names, because I really don't like the look of the huge ass gap like afterwards. So let's see if I will need to maybe use that bottom space to my advantage if I cannot fit everything up at the top. And it is kind of like an awkward pain in the ass to, write with a glass dip pen, particularly at this angle. My arm isn't even all the way on my desk because of the way I am situating the notebook for the tripod. And I'm always like curling my arm or my left arm around the tripod when I'm writing on these swatch cards in these new overhead videos. So maybe I will need to use the bottom. That's a great Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence, good use of space. Diamine Inkvent. It's a really, really nice color of pink. 20. Yeah, I guess I will be able to fit that in. 20, 25, 25, day 14 down at the bottom. Day 14. Yeah, that was a perfect solution to problem. Now put that off to the side so I don't smudge it when I'm writing up at the top. Diamine Inkvent. 20. Hopefully I'm not leaning into the frame too far. Again, I really need to, after Inkvent is over and I don't have to like do a video every single day without ceasing, I can like do a more relaxed learning process. I can look into the kinds of secondary monitors other people must be using so they always know what is in the frame and at all times, instead of, oh no, everything was too out of focus, or not everything was in the frame, or everything was way too close into focus, or I just look like a total stooge and amateur because it wasn't lining up, or like things were there that shouldn't be. Diamine Inkvent 2025 Teal Edition. Maybe I should also practice writing faster with a glass dip pen, but I don't want to risk pressing too hard and breaking the nib off like what happened to the first Dominant Industries ink muddler I got, although I suspect in hindsight maybe that was because I kept putting it like nib down into the little the jar, yeah, the jar, whatever, yogurt jar of water I was like rinsing the nib out, and I guess all that time of down, it was like creating stress, like fractures in the glass, and it eventually half of it like popped off, and then I guess the other half popped off as well. So goodbye nib. Now I can only use the muddler part for mixing inks and doing what do you call it, short writing samples, that too. And I'm doing the currently inked. I've been doing Mittens. This is pigment. Don't forget to write day 14, day pigment. And I don't know, as I say in so many videos, I almost never use print voluntarily, so this looks kind of childish. And letters are larger than usual too. Day 14, and I'll have to clean this dip pen off with a toothbrush after I'm done so it doesn't stick to it. Smiley face, smiley face, just a couple of like shapes and stuff like that. Just to fill in the space, and I will do a quick writing sample and get back to you guys. Unfortunately, I made a really big mistake when I put a little bit of Mittens in this Leonardo Momento Zero Primary Manipulation 4.5, which was an Atlas exclusive, one of the birthday pens I got last year. I thought I had washed this pen all the way out last time, but when I went to correct, it was making my eyes twitch. The bar on the double T's wasn't like far enough, and I used this pen. Why is it coming out purple? So I guess a little bit of the blue ink from prior was still in the feed, not entirely washed out, and it mixed with the pink and turned it purple. That was humiliating. And then I dip tested a bit in my Benu Euphoria Confetti milkshake, which is a Goulet exclusive, and I went to start a little bit more of the writing sample, and it comes out light red. So I guess some of the strawberry shortcake Monteverde ink from before hadn't 100% washed out of the feed yet either. And so finally I dip tested with my Esterbrook Esty Maui, and that finally came through the proper color. But because it was, you know, like so light, I'm giving it a chance, but just not 100% my own personal style, the kind I would want to, you know, like get a full bottle of or necessarily fill an entire pen with. I just painted like a poor like attempt at doing Mittens. Like if I were doing colored pencils, this would look so much more realistic, and did a couple of shapes. It's a great color, just not necessarily my own personal style. And I will zoom you guys in to do some comparisons with a couple of the swatch cards and some of the shades of pink, which I actually do like, and that maybe might be an interesting, good, close enough comparison. This is what I thought it was going to look like when I first pulled it out. Tsutsuji by Pilot Iroshizuku, but, you know, not nearly that, you know, bright of a shade. And Kosumosu, also an Iroshizuku ink, which unfortunately, like Tsutsuji, has been discontinued. Like, why did they take away like 2 of their pinks when they added 3 new colors to the line? Like, and seriously, even I think it's superstitious to only ever have 24 in the line at any given time because of the solar seasons in Japanese culture. Like, seriously, like even I think that, and I'm really, really superstitious about auspicious and inauspicious dates and numbers. But anyway, it does kind of have a similar look to the bubblegummy pink of Kosumosu, and this is another favorite pink of mine, Watatsukor Cotton Candy by Pannonia. Kind of, it's a little, not exactly the same, like 100% type of pink, but I can see, you know, similarities in it. And then there's Abigail. I guess that would be the closest similarity of any of the pinks I have, also from Pannonia. That's just a Hungarian form of the name Abigail, but this definitely is a much different type. This looks more like kind of like bubblegummy type of pink, I guess, and this looks like, I don't know how to describe the type of pink, but it's just a bit of a lighter type of hue. Other similar matches I found are Orchid Flower from Noveler. This was a surprise-free sample from Pen Chalet earlier this year from their April Fool's Day sale, and maybe this is a little bit similar. This is Plum from Private Reserve. This was one of my free ink samples for my birthday last year from Goulet, and also Carnation from Diamine, part of one of their 2 flowers sets. It kind of has a similar look to it, not so much in the swatch card, but in the writing. I think it does kind of have that like baby pinkish look to it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow for date number 15. Bye.